The house was quiet except for the playful hum in Sally's voice as she circled her brother for what felt like the 100th time. She leaned in with that pleading expression she had perfected since childhood, bright eyes wide and determined. "Please, Kelly, please, just try out for cheerleading with me. It'll be fun, I promise." She clasped her hands dramatically, like her request was a life-or-death matter. But Kelly didn't budge. He walked toward their shared room with the heavy sigh of someone who already knew how long this argument could last. "Sally, I'm not trying out. I don't care how much you beg." She followed close behind, refusing to be discouraged. "I just want to hang out with you more," she insisted softly, almost tenderly. "And you'd get to work with a lot of girls. It wouldn't be that bad." He shook his head, already anticipating how ridiculous he would look. "Sally, I don't want to be a cheerleader. People would pick on me." She raised her brows. "You do know there are a lot of male cheerleaders, right? And if you try out, I'll do anything you want. Just this once, Kelly. Please." She was winding up for another round, her breath already forming the next plea until the door swung open. Their mother peeked in with that half-amused, half-exasperated expression she had perfected after years of raising twins. "What in the world are you two fighting about?" Sally answered instantly, because she always did, gesturing eagerly toward Kelly. "I want him to try out for cheerleading with me, but he refuses." Their mother turned to him, arms crossed gently, but with that subtle parental pressure that could topple mountains. "Kelly, cheerleading is a great way to make friends, and you'll get stronger. You might even get a girlfriend from it." He groaned and rolled his eyes, but the combined force of Sally's begging and their mother's insistent smile finally cracked him. "Fine," he muttered. Sally cheered, throwing herself into a hug so tight he could barely breathe. Only when he gasped did she finally let go. Their mother asked when the tryouts were, and Sally happily announced, "Tomorrow at 4." Mom promised to drive them, then left with the smug aura of someone who had skillfully resolved a battle. Sally looked at Kelly with a glow of pure triumph. "I know you'll do great," she said. He sighed, knowing there was no turning back now. Morning came far too quickly. Sally shook him awake with an eagerness that didn't match the hour. "Wake up, Kelly," he groaned, blinking through sleep. Before he could ask why, she handed him a carefully folded outfit she had prepared. White shorts, a white top, pink panties, and a sports bra. His face heated instantly. "Sally, these are your clothes. I can't wear this." But she already had the explanation ready, as if she had rehearsed it. "You'll be cooler in this than in jeans. Come on, please." After a long moment battling with the reality of the situation, he finally carried the outfit into the bathroom. The clothes felt different, tight in some places, strange in others, but once everything was on, he stepped out again, unsure whether to feel embarrassed or relieved that at least Sally looked genuinely thrilled. She had changed into a similar outfit, beaming with confidence. "You look great," she said. They headed downstairs when their mother called for breakfast, and one glance was enough for her to raise her brows. "Isn't Kelly wearing your clothes?" Sally answered casually. "I thought he'd feel cooler in them." Their mother nodded approvingly. "That was nice of you." After breakfast, Sally tugged at the back of his hair thoughtfully. "Can I put it in a ponytail? It'll keep it out of your eyes," she said. He agreed, and she sat him on her bed, gathering his hair with practiced hands, as if she had styled him 100 times before. By the time she tied the last strand in place, he found himself staring at their reflection in the mirror. Twins, almost indistinguishable for a moment. At 3:30, they piled into the car, and their mother drove them to the school. The gym was already buzzing when they arrived. More than 30 girls stretched across the polished floor, chatting and laughing. Kelly scanned the room anxiously and whispered that he was the only boy trying out. Sally nudged his arm with certainty. "More will show up." "Don't worry. Come on, we need to stretch." He followed her lead awkwardly, doing his best to blend in, even though every movement made him hyper-aware of his clothes. At 4, The coach entered with a commanding voice that silenced the gym instantly. She introduced herself, giving a long speech about expectations, teamwork, and commitment before finally getting to the tryouts. They worked through flips, formations, cheers, and stunts. Over an hour of movement that left Kelly sweating, but surprisingly relieved that he wasn't struggling nearly as much as he had expected. And wearing tight clothes really did help more than jeans would have. When tryouts ended, the coach smiled at the group. "You all did fantastic. I'm pleased to say everyone made the squad." A wave of cheers echoed through the gym, and Sally squeezed Kelly in celebration. They sat on the bleachers while the coach handed out uniforms. When she reached Kelly, she leaned closer to whisper something even more unexpected. She told him that he and his sister had performed better than anyone else. Sally grabbed both uniforms proudly, unable to hide her excitement. Before he could protest, she dragged him into the girls' locker room. He froze at the doorway, whispering that he couldn't change in there. But she reassured him in a soft voice that no one would notice anything. She even explained that she had given him tight panties that morning, specifically to hide anything that might give him away. His face burned as he tried not to stare at anyone, focusing only on his uniform. The cheer dress was shorter than he expected, and the matching shorts were even shorter. He made a mental note to ask about getting the proper uniform later. He changed quickly, and when Sally led him to the mirror, he nearly froze at the sight. The dress, the bow, the ponytail, they all blended into something startling, something he didn't have a name for it. Sally smiled proudly, and he forced a small smile back, unsure how he felt about any of it. After practice, he approached the coach privately. He explained everything: how his sister had chosen his clothes, how he needed the boys' uniform, how the whole situation had unfolded faster than he expected. The coach nodded understandingly. She said she would try to get the right uniform, but until then he'd have to practice in the girls' version. She reassured him she wouldn't tell anyone, and he thanked her sincerely. When he returned to Sally, she was practically glowing. Their mother arrived soon after, and Sally wasted no time explaining why he was wearing a girl's uniform. Their mother giggled, telling him he looked very pretty. His cheeks warmed again. Once home, she handed him a denim skirt and a tank top and asked him to try them on. Nervous but compliant, he changed into the outfit. The mirror showed a version of himself he had never imagined. Soft lines, smooth fabric, short skirt settling just above his knees, and a tight tank top shaping easily to his frame. He walked out slowly. Their mother smiled, telling him he looked good and that she wanted him to wear it for the rest of the day. He nodded, still unsure, standing somewhere between discomfort and curiosity. He didn't know how he felt: right, wrong, confused, or something else entirely. But Sally and their mother both seemed happy, and their happiness felt strangely reassuring. Whatever tomorrow would bring, he wasn't sure. Maybe more outfits, maybe more surprises. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad after all. After all, none of the girls at tryouts had even realized he was a boy. Maybe he blended in more naturally than he thought. The idea settled into him like a soft whisper he wasn't ready to answer yet. Tomorrow, he decided, might just be a good day. The next morning crept in, softly, spilling pale sunlight across the edges of Kelly's denim skirt and tank top as he blinked himself awake. For a moment he forgot he was wearing them. The fabric felt oddly normal now, like something he'd always had draped across him. Only when he sat up and the skirt brushed lightly against his legs did he remember the whirlwind of yesterday. The tryouts, the uniform, the mirror, the quiet breath of uncertainty curling somewhere low in his stomach. As he stood and the familiar yet unfamiliar outfit settled around him, he felt a strange combination of nerves and anticipation, the kind that made the room seem a little brighter and his steps a little softer as he walked out to find his sister. Sally nearly burst into laughter when she saw him awake and already dressed, not out of mockery but out of the bubbly affection that she radiated so effortlessly, reminding him that despite all the confusion and all the newness, he wasn't doing any of this alone. Their mother greeted them in the kitchen with the warm ease of someone who had already decided what the day would look like. The smell of breakfast drifted through the air, and she smiled at the sight of him, still wearing the outfit she had chosen. She acted as though nothing about the situation was strange at all, as if seeing Kelly in a skirt was no more unusual than seeing him in pajamas. That gentle normalcy from her settled him more than he expected, smoothing edges he didn't realize were sharp. She talked about school, practice schedules, and the usual weekend errands, weaving her voice around the kitchen with the calm understanding only a mother could summon. He found himself relaxed by the rhythm of her words, even as his mind wandered restlessly, replaying moments from yesterday. The coach's steady assurance, Sally's unshakable confidence, the whisper in his mind whenever he caught his reflection for just a second too long. When they arrived at school later that day, the hallways buzzed with conversation. Groups of students gathered near lockers, comparing schedules and joking about the ridiculous stunts they'd been assigned during tryouts. Kelly half expected whispers or stares, but the world simply carried on as if everything was ordinary. Only Sally seemed to notice his quiet unease. She nudged him playfully, telling him he was going to do great at practice and that no one cared what he was wearing as long as he could keep up with the rest of the squad. That reassurance settled over him like a soft reminder that she had always believed in him more than he believed in himself. As they walked toward the gym, he tried to breathe through the nerves swelling in his chest, focusing on her quick, bright footsteps leading the way, as if she could pull him through sheer force of will. Practice began with the familiar echo of sneakers on polished floor, the coach's whistle slicing through the hum of chatter. The girls arranged themselves in lines with practiced grace, and Kelly slipped into the formation beside his sister. The coach watched him carefully at first, perhaps curious about how he would adjust, but as the drills began, it became clear to everyone that he wasn't just keeping up. He was excelling. Something about the rhythm of the moves, the balance required, the sharp precision of each motion felt oddly natural. His body seemed to understand the flow even when his mind felt tangled, and every time he landed a flip or matched a formation perfectly, the coach nodded with a glimmer of impressed approval. Sally grinned at him between routines, encouraging him silently with that unmistakable twin connection that made words unnecessary. For a while, all the uncertainty faded, replaced by an exhilarating clarity that pushed him forward through each movement. During a short break, the coach approached him with a small clipboard in hand. She had managed to put in an order for the boy's uniform, though she explained it might take a little time to arrive for now, she said with a reassuring smile. He was doing amazingly in the girls' version, and no one on the team had expressed even a hint of discomfort. The thought made Kelly blush, though he wasn't sure if it was from relief, embarrassment, or something more complicated. He thanked her quietly, feeling the knot of tension loosen just enough for him to breathe. When the break ended and the music started again, he moved with a renewed sense of confidence, letting the rhythm steady his thoughts. After practice, he and Sally walked home together, the crisp air drifting around them as she rambled excitedly about their upcoming performances and how she couldn't wait to show their mom the new moves they had learned. Kelly listened, half lost in her enthusiasm and half lost in the quiet tumult inside him. He still didn't fully understand why wearing the uniform didn't bother him as much as he thought it would, or why the skirt and tank top he wore at home didn't feel nearly as uncomfortable as they logically should. But every time he questioned it, he found no real answer, only the soft sense of acceptance from his family and the strange but gentle comfort that had begun settling inside him, like he was stepping into a version of himself he hadn't met before. Back at home, their mother asked eagerly about practice, and Sally demonstrated a few moves right in the living room, nearly knocking over a lamp in the process. Their mom laughed, completely unfazed, and then turned to Kelly with expectant warmth. He hesitated for a moment, but eventually followed Sally's lead, performing one of the simpler routines. As he moved, he saw their mother watching him with something between pride and tenderness, like she was seeing something unfold that she had known all along. When he finished, she clapped lightly and told him how graceful he looked, how natural he seemed. Her words sent a flutter through him that he didn't expect, like something quietly blooming even as he tried to ignore it. Later that evening, in the privacy of his room, he stared at his reflection again. The ponytail, the soft lines of the clothes, the lingering flush on his cheeks. It all formed an image he couldn't quite categorize. It wasn't that he didn't recognize himself. It was more that he was recognizing something new, something unspoken that had always been there but never acknowledged. He touched the hem of the skirt absent-mindedly, feeling the fabric glide under his fingers, and wondered why the sight didn't startle him anymore. Instead, there was a gentle curiosity, a quiet hum beneath his thoughts that asked questions he wasn't ready to answer, and maybe he didn't have to. Not yet. The day had been long, full of movement and noise, but in this stillness he felt a sense of calm that surprised him. As night settled over the house, he found himself thinking about tomorrow, about practice, about the uniform the coach had ordered, and how he felt strangely unsure whether he wanted it to arrive quickly or slowly. He knew things were changing in ways he didn't fully grasp, but he also wasn't running from it. Maybe this was simply a part of growing, learning, stepping into unfamiliar shapes until they felt comfortable. And as he lay down, pulling the blanket over his skirt, he realized he wasn't afraid of what the morning might bring. If anything, he felt a flicker of anticipation, a soft spark of hope tucked somewhere beneath all the uncertainty. Tomorrow, he thought as his eyes drifted closed, might be another good day, maybe even better than the last.